I promised you guys another replay featuring the Exalted Bloodthirster from Lazarus, and here we are. This time he's taking Khorne up against the Warriors of Chaos Undivided. So definitely should be for an interesting time. The Exalted Bloodthirster here's definitely got his work cut out for him. Taking a look at the rest of the build, we've got some Chaos Warhounds and Fleshhounds out on the flanks. In the center, it looks like 2 spawn and 2 halberds with an Exalted Bloodletter, and the Knights of the Brazen Throne. So quite a lot of elites here looking to just mow down those warriors. As for the warriors themselves, they've got an interesting composition. We've got a Mutalith Vortex Beast plus a Sorcerer Lord of Nurgle. Healing a Mutalith Vortex Beast is something that's actually banned specifically for Tzeentch, so it's going to be quite strong here potentially, especially when combined with the Sever Claw. This is a nasty, nasty little synergy composition right here. Got Knights of Tzeentch as well, some Marauder Great Weapons, and Chaos Warriors. Yes, 1 Chaos Warrior out on the flank there, and the Mirror Guard out on this flank here. Then we've got a bunch of mobile forces in the Vanguard, a bunch of Marauder Horsemen, and a single Chaos Warhound. So let's get things rolling. And right away, the Warriors of Chaos are going to get pretty aggressive with these skirmish forces, try and kind of come forward here. But notice the positioning for Khorne, really well done to kind of move these forces across and block the sort of return avenue for these mobile forces. That allows the Bloodthirster to then drop in at a pretty favorable angle, and Khorne just in general is going to be able to get a pretty good engagement here, as the Marauder Horsemen are also forced to run away. At the very least, you pick off 1 Chaos Warhound here, and maybe the Marauder Horsemen, yeah, if they get chased into the woods, the Warhounds count as infantry size, so they'll actually be able to catch them in the woods, most likely. But let's take a look at the main armies. Looks like they haven't quite clashed yet. Getting ready to. So we'll swing back over there as the Chaos Knights very bravely just charge straight into the front of some halberds. And the Mutalith Vortex Beast also just straight in there. I mean, I certainly admire the style, but they are halberds after all. That said, they are facing a lot of numbers of enemies. Going to blob in, arguably over-blob in a couple of little Marauder units here. You could definitely swing them up and around and like rear charge into the spawn to get some extra damage, but still, getting them in the fight nonetheless. The Knights of the Brazen Throne swing out and just start to murder Marauders, which is great. Little breath attack in the side there as well on those Marauders. Fantastically done. So, mobile engagement, again, it's not necessarily a win outright for Khorne. It looks like the Fleshhounds and the Chaos Warhounds are having some leadership issues potentially. Might not be doing that much actual damage, but they are distracting and sort of preventing these Marauder Horsemen from contributing to the rest of the battle. Which means that, ideally, they'll be able to get good melee engagements in the meantime. Unfortunately, Mutalith Vortex Beast definitely has something to say about that. Massive attack animations splashing all around here, but oh yes, Bloodthirster's coming. Wants to deliver the might of Khorne, if he can land. Exalted Bloodthirster is probably one of the worst units when it comes to the landing bug, but once he can land and get into combat, he's going to be quite effective, especially with his buffs active, up to 870 weapon strength. A few people in the last video said that he should get increased weapon strength and or decreased cost. I honestly think maybe a little bit of both would probably make him reasonably good. I mean, he's already solid in certain circumstances. But let's see here, he's fighting it out with the Mutalith Vortex Beast, which is in itself an anti-large, armor-piercing monster. Not as good a stats, but still quite good overall, so definitely interesting to see. Lots more units piling in for the Warriors as well. Those Spawn of Khorne, disorientated. Interesting contact effect there. But, oh yeah, that Mutalith Vortex piece definitely taking an absolute beating from those units. Let's check in also with the Brazen Thrones. Okay, looks like they're defending this back line right now, trying to keep the Khorne elites from getting too badly surrounded. Love this also. The Exalted Bloodletter is able to get into the Mirror Guard. Cut those Slaneshis down. They're going to be a very cost-effective trade. Maybe not, actually. I mean, the Mirror Guard do have magic damage and are a cheaper unit, so they might be trading okay here, all things considered. Well, not quite paid for themselves yet. We'll see. But Mutalith getting a really nice drain here is also a little bit of a problem, but keep in mind that the Mutalith drain does count as magic damage, and of course all Khorne units do have a little bit of spell resistance, so they're going to take slightly less damage, only slightly, but still, slightly less damage over time, as opposed to some other factions, right? But, ooh, a little matched animation there between these two, as the Mutalith slaps the Exalted Bloodthirster. Oop, nope, same thing. Interesting. Okay, looks like the Bloodthirster's struggling to actually get the damage. I mean, of course, the animations are playing out. The damage is actually going on to the Neolith as I say that. So, oof, with that thing going down, that's going to be a big dent in the Warriors' plans. Still slightly ahead on the balance of power, but Terror definitely kicking in. Khorne was able to preserve those Fleshhounds and Warhounds and keep them from going to demonic instability, so they're able to continue pursuing those horsemen. Once again, getting them away from the fight. Mutolith Vortex Beast does fall. Love that little death sort of vortex lingering there. Pretty interesting. I don't know if that actually does damage. I'll have to look at that. But now all of a sudden, Horn of Khorne active, Deathbringer active, at least for a little bit longer. That Sorcerer Lord's looking quite vulnerable and snipeable. Nurgle can only protect so much. And when you've got an angry, exalted Bloodthirster just ready to rumble, oh man, you're in for some absolute pain. Let's see, the Siege Knights are going to come through, try and block momentarily. And they will, at least for a little bit of time. But all these Khorne units just not wanting to rout. Of course, spawn are unbreakable, so that makes sense for them. But even like these Knights of the Brazen Throne, the Halberd's getting very low at this point. Fighting the Aspiring Claw here. Severed Claw Aspiring Champs, of course. And notice how they are getting pretty well surrounded, despite how tattered the Khorne forces are here. But we'll see. They might be able to grind down these Severed Claw over time. It looks like, well, maybe not. I don't know. The Severed Claw are holding out quite well and are probably generating some really nice value in this fight. Ooh, the Bloodletter is still being alive is pretty important, though. That elite armor-piercing anti-infantry damage will be obviously very effective here versus the Severed Claw. The biggest thing, too, if the Nurgle Sorcerer gets killed or otherwise chased off the battlefield, leadership will definitely impact the Severed Claw, but we'll see. We shall definitely see. Now it's a beautiful rainbow of chaos here as these forces fight. Handful of Chaos Warriors, Chaos Knights pulling back once again for another charge. Looks like the Spawn are gone, the Halberds are as well, so it comes down to the Exalted Bloodletter, Exalted Bloodthirster. Brazen Thrones get a little cheeky side charge in here, although they are extremely low. They're probably going to rout almost immediately as well once they take a couple of hits. Oh, but the Sorcerer Lord gets terrified away and likely to get killed off here. Only about 530 HP on him. A couple more Khorne Halberds thinking about coming back, not actually coming back. Let's see, though. Oh, man. So Bloodthirster going to have to do it himself. With the handful of few Khorne infantry that remain, I mean, these critical Bloodletters just taking the hits so that all this Aspiring Claws don't immediately gang up. On the Bloodthirster, he can get attack animations in on the models that are in contact with him without getting surrounded. Super important, at least for a time. Those Bloodletters do evaporate pretty quickly, though, and now he's going to be taking that damage from the Severed Claw, which is going to be quite painful. Let's see. Ooh, some Fleshhounds coming back in here as well. Can he survive long enough for them to complete the rear charge? Got some Halberds moving in once again. Got Sorcerer Lord trying to get back to the fight also. Knights of the Brazen Throne also coming in for one last rear charge. The Fleshhounds do manage to get in the fight before he falls or suffers demonic instability. He is kind of teetering right on the edge of it. Bloodthirst gets popped. Terror kicks in for the Severed Claw, and I think that's probably it. Sorcerer Lord lands just a hair too late. Salvage leadership of his units. That'll be the end, and a victory for Khorne, and a great game for the Exalted Bloodthirster. I mean, maybe, yeah, he tries to pop one last heal there, but not quite enough. Bloodthirster just barely hangs on at the end. And 4,200 damage value on him. I mean, certainly, like I said, can be effective in the right circumstance. That fire damage, nerfing the healing here, made the Nurgle's heals obviously significantly less effective. Mutolith Vortex Beast was still able to get 3,000 damage value, almost 20,000 total damage dealt. So still quite impressive, but at the end of the day, the Exalted Bloodthirster is a large part of the carry of this build. Honestly, a lot of units actually do a pretty good job, like Exalted Bloodletters here, the Spawns, nice contribution as well. The Halberds are cost-effective, Fleshhounds and Warhounds do their thing, so it's definitely an interesting one. I really like the build from Lazarus, actually, and the execution of it. Even though, like, personally, builds this narrow and small, generally for me end up not working out well. He was able to play his cards right, start to break some of those initial numbers very quickly to kind of even things out for himself, and then move in from there. Yeah, for this Warriors build, I mean, obviously the Severed Claw, Meatloaf Vortex Beasts are going to be your main power pieces here. They definitely got some good value, just the rest of the army wasn't quite enough to win. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.